So I'm on my way to see the rector for the first time since November, and I think I'm nervous. I'll tell you why. I had a nightmare about it last night even, and I don't have nightmares very often. I certainly don't have anxiety dreams, but it was very strange. It was one of those dreams where you know it was all ridiculous, but you still felt the terror and the anxiety anyway. Obviously, I actually think it's going to go fine. I think it's going to be great, and I'm really looking forward to it. But I was quite surprised when I woke up this morning and realised, oh, I must be somewhat nervous. I think it's because I haven't seen her for quite a while, and I really want to get something tangible out of this meeting. And I suppose there's that fear that I might not. After however long of waiting, to not get what I was waiting for would be unfortunate.
So I've just finished with the rector. Before I talked about what I wanted out of the meeting, which was basically some sort of step towards being referenced to a DDO or similar. Now that hasn't happened, but it is due to factors that are reasonable, I think, and I'll explain that in a sec. So, how do I feel afterwards? Oh, it's always good to talk to her. We talked for quite a long time actually. We talked for about an hour and a half, which was really good. And I sort of caught her up basically on all the things I've been doing, and she responded very positively. I think the fact that I've been doing things, I think the fact that I've been talking to people is a key thing that she said was very good, because a key part of the process is talking to people and telling your story and articulating things about yourself and your spirituality and your calling, that it's really good to get practice so that you're good at it. So that's really encouraging, the fact that I'm doing that right, as it were. A lot of the conversation was about something that I did last week, which is a new thing, which you don't know about, which is that I have applied to a pastoral assistant job, which starts in September and it goes for a year. Now, I've looked at these before. I'm sure if you're going through the vocation process, you know that it comes up quite often as an option for people who are interested in ministry to basically do some ministry work experience. And you know, there are good places and less good places, and interesting placements and less interesting placements. And obviously there's also the money element, because sometimes you get, you know, no money and accommodation or whatever. When I first looked at all that, I didn't really feel like doing it. I wasn't sure quite what I would get out of it. But there's two ways I would say that are the methods of communication between me and God when it comes to what he wants me to do next. And those are a combination of bolt out of the blue moments, which are very rare and are just thoughts that suddenly turn my head and I am committed in a new direction, basically. And the other one is opportunity. And there's a certain feeling that is becoming quite familiar that I get when I get an opportunity that I meant to take, basically, that I feel like I'm meant to take. And I had that feeling when I read the job description for this pastoral assistant job. So I didn't get it the first time I looked at pastoral assistant jobs, which is why I didn't go for it, obviously. And I don't know what's changed. I assume what's changed is me. So we talked about that a lot, and she brought up a element that I didn't think about would come up, actually, which is that if I get the job, I might have to contemplate going through them rather than St James's, which is my church right now with her. And I hadn't contemplated that, didn't come down on it one way or the other. And this is the reason she's not moving me on to being referenced, because if I get the job, it may be part of the establishment of that job that they just assume that you're going to do it through them. And it's a conversation we need to have as a sort of three-way between me and St James's and the other church before we contemplate anything like that. So like I said, it's quite reasonable, but it's a tad irritating because it's not how I expected it to go. We discussed also the fact that I've taken March and April off from work, and basically I've proved myself right that during January and February I found it very difficult, as you'll see in some of my blog posts from that time, to do both the work and feel like I was in any way following my calling and acknowledging my discernment. I literally turned to God and said, I'll tell you in 2 weeks at one point, which is a horrible thing to do. When I first talked to Lucy, I did say, I don't know if I'll be able to do both at the same time, and I basically proved myself right. So it'd be really nice if I get the job to not have to do many more jobs in theatre before September when it starts. And she asked me what were my reasons to going on retreat and what did I want to get out of it. And so that was the first time I've sort of articulated that. So I was sort of thinking it through on my feet, really. And basically, I want to create a space that is blank space. I'm very bad at, whenever I have free time, I'll fill it, which generally isn't the most relaxing thing. So point 1 is to try and relax and not be as active, and take some time just to be rather than just do. And the second thing is to work on my spirituality. I'll join in with the worship life at the retreat house, and then take some quiet time to work on my relationship with God, really. That was the first time I'd articulated it, so that was a good thing to do, to be able to articulate with her, and she seemed to understand what I was saying and agreed that it was a good idea. And yeah, a very different place than I was when I last talked to her in November. And I think that I could see that in myself, and she said she could see it in me, the difference of how more clear I am on where I'm going and how I'm going to go about it. And one of the key things was, back in September and November, I was trying to work out how to do this process. I was trying to work out how to discern. And it's not about how you do it, it's the fact that you're doing it. And trying to work out how to do it is basically trying to work out how somebody else would do it. And that's not going to get you anywhere. The key to the discernment process is that you're doing it. You, the person who is called by God. God is not calling the person you're going to be. God is calling who you are now. And I don't think I really realised that for quite a long time, until I started to get a bit bored of not being told what to do, so just took the initiative and suddenly realised, this is how you do it. It's like prayer, you just get on with it. It really sucks as advice. And that's half the reason I've done this blog, really. I'm trying to collate resources onto this blog of things to do, and if you see the page where I've put the steps in my journey, that's again trying to show what are options that might work for people going through the discernment process. The last thing she did was try and recommend me a book, and I did say, look, I have got a very long to read list. So yeah.